Well, howdy, physics sleuths and inquisitive souls, and welcome again to another lecture of Sermon of Sean. So, woo! How's your great tribulation going? Things are slowly getting cranked up more and more, day by day. Do you not believe? I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to believe that we're in the end times, but we are. And your belief is not necessary. Watch some more of my videos and maybe I'll convince you of the truth. Maybe. Probably not, though. People are stubborn. Like old dogs don't want to learn new tricks. Stubborn as can be. So, let's take a gander what we got for the Great Tribulation to kick off here. Here's some of my communities I got. Dynamic gravity, Great Tribulation, Pluto. We go here. Here's my original video I posted back in 2024, showcasing all this when I first made this community. All right, what do we got? So, the Bible says there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And we've got 3 comets now, actually 4. Now this is a day old. Now we got 4 comets that are all coming straight towards Earth. None of them are expected to hit, so it's not like, it's the end of the world or anything. Or is it? But I think it's one of those signs, where it says, and the stars too. There's going to be all sorts of crazy shit going on in space that is not normal. And having a giant space rock the size of Manhattan traveling twice as fast as anything else we've ever seen before, coming from an interstellar source, is definitely not normal. Along with having so many comets, there's a lot of talk and chatter about the red heifer ceremony that took place in July 1st, where now we have more and more sources that are coming out saying it was legit. The ashes have been used to heal, there's no doubt. It's a good ceremony, and the Jews know it. Makes you wonder. Probably do a video on that specifically. We got Georgia PM. Looks like Georgia's being overthrown, trying to be overthrown. NATO. Fontaine Fresh, Killmark. Yep. Now NATO is shooting down Russian drones. I'm sure that's going to end well. Yep. All the genocide now in Nigeria, where I guess they've killed was like 120,000 people over the last like 15 years or something. It's been a lot. And this is one of the signs in the end times, Revelations. It says that John saw the legions of beheaded Christians for following Christ. And some of these guys are getting beheaded in Nigeria. That is happening because they're getting attacked by, I think it's Boko Haram, the Islamic extremist group. And that's one of the ways they deal with infidels. Okay. And look, this is just all. This is even a week, man. My goodness. Madagascar and Morocco are having lots of protests, wanting to completely overdo the entire government. Man, what is this one? Peru's got a lot of problems now. Man, another 6.9 earthquake in the Philippines. Woo! Oh, Gog and Magog have officially denounced and condemned Israel. In case you haven't known, Gog and Magog are allegedly Russia and Putin. I think it's like Gog is like the leader and Magog is the country, if I'm not mistaken. It could be backwards though. So when they say Gog and Magog, they're saying a very powerful godless nation in the north, which It was Russia. They're one of the beasts working to end the world. So it's Russia and Putin when they say that, and that is one of the prophecies that before they turn on them and God has to destroy them all, they have to go from being allies to not allies, and here we are. Oh, preppers are saying 2026 is the year something big is happening. Got a storm of the century, a 3-day typhoon that destroyed everything in its path. Man, woo! The Great Tribulation is really kicking up. This is all just like a week, well, maybe 2 weeks now, but there's a lot going on, guys. You sure I'm wrong? I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't feel wrong. So, today we're going to talk about Jesus and how did he heal? How did he heal all these people? Okay, that's what we want to go into. Okay, so the Bible that I'm really loving most right now is I think it's called like the 1611. Yeah. This bad boy right here, this 1611 King James. It's just a King James, but it has red whenever Jesus talks, and man, that just really makes a huge difference. Like, how would you know that this was Jesus' words if they didn't tell you? You know what I mean? It would be really hard. So there's a lot of things that it really kicks off that is important. I think it's very important to see clearly when Jesus spoke and when he didn't. So this is the Bible that I've been using most recently to do everything. So when I show you, excerpts from it, usually it's going to be from this. Maybe not always. All the Bibles have a slightly different take interpretation on things. One of the reasons why I don't trust any Bibles that are newer, like written in the last 100 years, because they've been tainted by feminism. Sad but true. And so they just carry a different tone. They just carry a different tone overall than, like, say, a King James. It is what it is. So I always trust the King James, but there are things, especially when it comes to like describing the beast, the 4 beasts that usher in the end days. The King James is kind of doesn't do the greatest job. There's other Bibles do a better job. So I would say no one Bible is perfect, but if you had to choose one, King James 1611 is pretty damn good. All right. So I'm going to be referring to this Bible a lot during this. Okay. And there's no need for me to show you in the Bible where everything is written, because it would take forever having to find it. And I copy and pasted it. You just have to trust on this, okay? I'm not writing in shit. This is all copy and pasted. All right? So let's dig deep, like a deep dive, like a rabbit hole deep dive. You know me, I love those fucking rabbit holes, man. I just fucking go headfirst in those fuckers. I don't give a damn what's down there waiting for me. Not one damn at all, really. So, we're going to try and demystify the magical healing of Jesus, okay? And try and really break it down scientifically what the hell is going on here. Because this is one of the things that turned me off religion my whole life, is you have all these religious kooks and they hear this thing like Jesus healed people, clearly he was God and had magical powers coming out of his fingertips and his eyes, and he could just sit there and look at you and he had magic. And it was just like, come on, bro. Come on. If you're not even going to try and fucking be an adult about this, and everything is going to be a childish fairy tale of explaining how things go down, then you're going to lose me. I'm sorry. You lost me. And they did. For 20 years, I was a Buddhist because all I dealt with was radical Christians that refused to look at things from a logical or scientific basis. And that's just not me. I'm sorry. If you're not down with the science, we're not down. That's the way it is. Sorry. As you probably could tell from this channel, is where I kind of showcased and did a ride along with you in the shotgun as I discovered all of the secrets of the known universe. And I told you I was going to do it. I told you how many fucking times did I say in my videos, I don't know everything yet, but I'm working on it, bitch, and soon, and soon. And here we are. And I did it faster than I ever anticipated. I thought it would take me a lifetime, but it only ended up taking me 3 years. 3 years, baby. 3 years. So if you care about physics and gravity, look at my old stuff there. I'll set you straight on how it all goes. If you care about God, that's cool. You can watch all my videos on that too. I'm doing both. All right. So without further ado, let's break this bad boy apart and dig in. Okay. All right. So what did Jesus use to heal? And staffs and oils given to his apostles, and Romans cast lots for his garments. This is all very important information we're going to have to decode. All right. So in Matthew 14:36, it says, and no, go back. I don't want to do that. Okay. And besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. Okay? So, according to Matthew, the source of Jesus' magical healing was his garments, specifically the edge or the trim of it. If you just touched the edge or the trim of his garments, his clothes that he wore, you would be healed magically. That was the deal. That was what happened. Stupid thing. So this is giving us a very, very important clue, like a nod, okay? Telling us that it wasn't actually Jesus that was healing people. It was things that he had on him that were given to him during his 40 days and 40 night stint after he got baptized, when God and the angels had taken him to heaven for 40 days to basically give him the lowdown and to explain to him God's whole plan so that Jesus would be on board with everything and know how everything, what's going to happen. Okay? And they also tempted him a little bit, to show him what's important, with the whole talk with the whole devil and everything. But that was really just a monologue he had inside of his head with himself. The devil's inside of you. Sorry, there is no real devil, except for the ones you bring, my child. All right, so let's move on. Luke 9:1. Then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them the power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. Right? So this is when Jesus brings his disciples in and sends them out in pairs of twos to heal on his behalf and to spread the gospel, the word of God. That God is real and he's good and blah, 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 all this good stuff, right? So now they have been given the power to heal. Okay? So they were just normal people. Okay? You can argue Jesus wasn't a normal person because we don't know where the genetic component or material came from his father's side. Clearly, it was a human that God chose for whatever gene sets, and clearly he probably modified it and gave a few extra things. Like, we know that Jesus had the power to read people's minds, but there is zero evidence that he was able to do this before he got baptized and was taken away by God and powered up and given all these superpowers, all right? But that doesn't mean that Jesus didn't always have that ability. It just might have been latent or not activated. Okay? So I wouldn't get too lost in the sauce that Jesus was just a normal everyday dude like the rest of us. Okay? I believe he was powered up in different ways by God before birth, and that he was powered up again in various ways after he was baptized. Okay? Ultimately, he's a human being, but he's not a normal human. And the soul for Jesus, it does appear to be kind of an old soul. So it is entirely possible that Jesus's first life was not as Jesus. He could have lived another life as other people. And I'm going to do a video on that. I got some pretty remarkable findings on that. So when you're ready, we'll have that conversation. But you're not ready yet. First, let's do this. Okay, so Luke, excuse me, Luke 6:18. Okay, and they were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed. And the whole multitude sought to touch him, for there went virtue out of him and healed them all. So once again, we have Luke saying, yes, the people had to touch Jesus to get healed. Um, it wasn't like you just simply were near him and his magical healing powers would just envelop you and take care of you. There was an actual physical thing, a chemical reaction, a trade of chemistry occurring between you touching the trim of his garments and whatever's going on there that then is injecting nanobots, freaking antibodies. Who knows, man? Some chemical that just does magical things when put in the body. Who knows what it could have been that was actually doing the healing? But it was something that was embedded into the trim of his garments. So it seems. Okay, we're gonna keep digging deeper. This is gonna be pretty obvious. Okay, it's gonna be pretty damn obvious how Jesus healed people when I get done here. All right. And another thing I like to say is they make an example over there's two distinct things. You have diseases and you have devils. Okay? Now, I believe what this is a nod to is an actual physical disease, like say Lyme disease, or maybe an STD, or an illness, or maybe cancer. Okay? Or what was it, leper, being a leper. Okay? That would fall under the disease category. And the devils that possess people, I believe, is more of a nod to mental illnesses, okay, like schizophrenia, or I don't know, just some mental illness at the time that people don't even understand back then. But Jesus was given the lowdown on kind of what it all is, and told that he was able to fix that and people. Um, Now, I don't know if he had to actually touch them or they had to touch his garments for the devil. It doesn't appear to be the case. There's instances where he's driving devils out of people we're going to look at that he doesn't ever touch them. So it doesn't seem, it's two different things, which means it's two different ways in which he's curing it. Okay, I want you to know that there's a distinction between devils, which are probably mental illnesses, and diseases. And I think they're also referred to demons, maybe, which are diseases, which are just straight up disease. Okay, so Matthew 27:35, and they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vestures did they cast lots. So, this is basically saying that the Romans knew there was something going on with Jesus's garments, okay? They knew he was not just some common dude making a kerfluffle in the temple, and that he was, just guilty of being a loser and he had to die. They knew he was doing miracles. They knew he was healing everybody. And they knew that almost all of these healings involve people touching his garments. Okay? So that's why they were so valuable that the Romans had to literally resort to casting lots to decide who would get to keep which garments so they wouldn't just fight each other to death over it. Because that's how badly they wanted these garments. They believed these garments could do stuff, that they were worth having, like healing. Now, That's not exactly the whole truth. There's always layers to the onion you have to rip off, and every single one makes you fucking cry because it's an onion. Yay, life, isn't it great? We're gonna get there. Okay, so Mark 5:24. And a certain woman which had a blood issue, or 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but she rather grew worse. And she had heard of Jesus. She came and pressed behind him and touched his garment. And touched his garment. For she said, if I may but touch his clothes, I shall be whole. She knows. She knows. If she just touches his garment, she's going to be healed. She knows that. She doesn't need his permission or his consent. She knows this. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the plague. So she had a disease, some blood disease, who knows what it could have been. And Jesus, immediately knowing himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned about the press and said, who touched my clothes? Now, who knows what this virtue is that he's talking about? It could just simply been whenever someone touches garments and the healing portion is activated, he feels it like a little rumble or vibration or something, so he's aware of it. Who knows? But there's something going on that when it works, he feels it, so he knows it works, okay? And he knows that someone just got healed, but he doesn't know who yet. So he's going to, look behind him and play, dumb for a second. His disciples said unto him, thou seest multitude thronging thee, and thou sayest thou, who touched me? So his disciples were like, we don't even know who touched you. Probably nobody. There's a lot of people here at Jesus. And he's like, no, this is important. Somebody actually touched me and got healed. So he looked around about to see her, and it had done this thing. But the woman, fearing, trembling, knowing, take it up a little for you guys, knowing that what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said to her, daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. All right? So he knew that she was sick, and he knew she touched him. And he didn't want it to be known that if you just simply touch him, you'll be healed, okay? Because this is how this medical technology that God gave him worked. So he tried to play it off like, okay, well, the reason why it worked is because you had faith, which is true. She had enough faith to chase him down across, the town and to go through a crowded thing and to grab him, knowing that if she grabbed that garment, something good was going to happen and get rid of her disease. So she did have faith. She knew that was going to happen. But this is kind of Jesus of saying, yeah, okay, you don't really have to do it, but the reason why it worked is because you had faith it would work. And that's kind of the whole point of what I'm trying to do here. So you see how Jesus kind of, played that whole situation. But ultimately, what happened was a woman touched his garment without him knowing or his permission or his consent, and she was healed. Pretty obvious what's doing the healing, no? So, Luke 8:43. And a woman having an issue of blood, okay, here's another one, spent living in her physician's, neither could be healed by any, came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issues of blood were staunched. So this same chick, different eyes saw it, Luke, and notice that he's saying, once again, she touched the border of his garment. Not his garment. It had to be the trim, the border of his garment. That was where the medical technology was embedded and hidden into his clothing. Okay? That's where it was in the trim of his garment. All right? It's funny because I don't think it says it was. I think it is said it was just his garment here and not the trim of his garment. So it's good to have different sources because they bring out different points and different things that illustrate what's going on. Okay, so Mark 6:56. And whosoever he entered into the villages or cities or country that laid the sick in the streets, and besought him that might touch, if they were but border of his garments. And as many touched him were whole. Once again, just basically saying, bunch of people, multitude, they all went to touch him. Everybody that touches the border of his garment got healed of whatever they had, whatever problems they had. Okay? Whatever disease. Now, when the sun was setting, all they had, any sick with divers disease, so divers means diverse, so a lot of different types of diseases, brought to them unto him, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. Okay? Now, this sounds like it's something different, right? Like it's not the garment, the border of his garment. But if I touch you with my hands, and I have a robe that has, arm slot sleeves, whatever sleeves, and the garment is right where my wrist is, then when I touch you, like say on your forehead, look at that. My garment, the border of my garment, is now also going to be laying upon your face. Okay, it's going to be touching you. So at first glance, it sounds like it's a different thing going on than the border or the trim of his garments. But when you think about what it's actually saying, he reaches out and touches them. And as he's doing this, this is presenting an opportunity for the border of his garment to touch them. And now they're healed. Seems like the same thing to me. More of the same. What do I know? I'm crazy. Okay. So, Mark 6:7. Moses was given a magical staff by God. Okay. Moses was a regular dude. He was born a regular dude. But he was given the power to heal and the power to do all sorts of crazy stuff and all the plagues. Actually, probably no human really had any more power than Moses was entrusted with, if you think about it. I mean, he saw God. Didn't get to see his face, but he saw the back of God's head. That's pretty remarkable. He was given all the power of the plagues. He was given the ability to heal. I think he even resurrected, if I'm not mistaken. Dude, he did a lot. He parted the ocean with his staff. I mean, he did a lot. So his staff was very powerful. Okay? And then he called them the 12, and they began to send them forth in two, and they gave them power over unclean spirits. And they commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save a staff only. No script, no bread, no money in their purse. But be shod with sandals and not put on two coats. So, and he said unto them, in what place you shall be, depart, they don't receive you. Then when you leave, shake the dust off your feet and give testimony. And verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah than a day of judgment for that city. And they went out and preached the men should repent, and they cast out many devils, and anointed with oil many that were sick, and healed them. Okay? So I want you to notice there's two things in this verse. When Jesus sends out his 12 apostles out to heal, he says, take nothing with you except a pair of sandals, a staff, like Moses was given. So Jesus is giving them all staffs. I can guarantee you they're definitely not regular staffs. They definitely have some powered up ability, 100%. And he gave them oils. so that they could anoint the sick with them, and the oils would cure them. So, when Jesus heals, when Moses heals, it's his staff. When Jesus heals, it's a border trim of his garment. And when his apostles heal, it's the oils that Jesus gave them to anoint the sick with that heals them. And those oils, what we could consider today very powerful antibiotics, or just anything really, that something that back then would have been seen as magic, but now for us is common technology that we've had for 100 years now. Okay, but of course it's God's health technology, so it's going to be superior to anything we have, because God's got a good million years advantage of evolution wise on us. So there's nothing we have that could compare to what God has. So don't compare the two too much. You'll get it all twisted. All right. So this is important. Okay, we're learning a lot of stuff today about how Jesus healed things. The only time Jesus healed from a distance, John 4:47. Okay. And when he heard that Jesus came out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and beseeched him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. And Jesus said to him, Except ye the signs and wonders, ye will not believe. And the nobleman said to him, Sir, please come down here, my child die. And Jesus said to him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man being the word that Jesus spoke unto him, and he went his way. And he was now going down. His servants met him and told him, saying, Thy son liveth. And being cured, that hour that would begin to amend. And they said unto him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. So the father knew in the same hour in which Jesus said unto him, Thy son liveth, and himself believed, and his whole house. Okay? So, this nobleman, I believe he was probably a Roman, basically came to Jesus, begging Jesus to heal his son, because he knew Jesus could do that, and he believed in Jesus, and he wasn't trying to take advantage of Jesus. He was trying to be the best person he could, and Jesus knew this. So Jesus agreed to heal his son. But the nobleman didn't want him to come to his house because he was a Roman, and he said it's not worthy of Jesus because he'll be offended by all the stuff inside of his house and everything. And he said that Jesus can heal him from a distance if he really wanted to. And Jesus read his mind and knew that he wasn't trying to deceive him or to mock him or anything. And so Jesus did it. This is, to my knowledge, the only time Jesus healed anybody without touching them. Okay? My bad. There's one other person we're going to go into. I think there's one other person. And there's a reason for that. But this is the one that he should have touched them, but he didn't. So something else clearly happened here. This, I believe, is best summed up by the angels. Jesus said he was given command of like 40 legion of angels by God that would serve him, because Jesus is the ambassador between God and humanity. Jesus is that guy. He's that important. He's very, very important, okay? He is human number one as far as God is concerned, okay? So Jesus was going to be given power over New Jerusalem, God's spaceship that houses heaven for us humans. And Jesus he's not like our God, but he, as our ambassador, he controls our heaven for us humans. He's not a regular dude, okay? He's not a regular prophet. He's very powered up. Jesus is on his own level when it comes to his accomplishments and how God sees him, okay? So, now, so how do you heal this person without touching them? I think he just told the angels to do it. And the angels, snuck in there and healed them however they could. and it was done. And the angels, God knows the future, He knows the timeline, so He knew this was going to happen. So He probably had an angel all prepped and ready. So when Jesus knew, okay, here's an opportunity for me to heal this guy and to prove that his faith is what's most important, and do it from afar, Jesus knew that God had angels set up that could get this sorted out willy nilly. So He took advantage of this and He did this. To my knowledge, this is about the only time Jesus ever did that, though. Almost every other time that He heals a disease is from them touching the border of His garment. Like, that's just the way it is. All right? So let's dig deeper. Got a few curveballs coming up here. Jesus healed physical injury like blindness or death with His spit. Okay? Mark 8:22. And then He came to Bethesda and brought a blind man unto Him and besought Him to touch him. And He took the blind man by the hand and led him out of town. When He spit on his eyes and put His hands upon him and asked if he saw aught. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. And after that He puts His hands up again, and upon his eyes He made him look up, and he was restored and saw every man clearly. Okay? So this one is different. Okay? This is not a disease, like gonorrhea, and this is not a mental illness like schizo. This is a physical ailment. He is blinded, physically blinded, or physically deaf. Okay? It's like having your hand cut physically off. Antibiotics aren't going to help you because you're not sick. You have a physical illness that requires a physical remediation. So, Jesus had to resort to a different method to get this guy sorted out, which God obviously gave him the power to do. Now, this seems to revolve around His spit more than anything. So it seems to be that if you have a minor physical ailment, I don't want to say minor like blindness is minor, but it's minor, that the thing that probably needs to be, sorted out is just something as tiny as a retina. You know what I mean? It's not like having an entire arm hacked off and then having to regrow a whole new arm. Okay, that's what I say when I say minor. It's a very small portion of the body that's actually wrong that needs to be fixed to get things copacetic. All right. So Jesus has 3 ways He can heal now that we know. He can heal diseases by touching His garment or having angels do it. He can cure mental illness. We're going to go into that. And we know He can cure physical ailments such as blindness or deafness, but it requires His saliva and to really mix it up in there to get His saliva in there. So maybe God, when I say Jesus was not a normal thing, He was powered up, maybe He was powered up and that His saliva actually had some physical thing inside of it that could fix things like this. Who knows when it comes to God's technology? All you need to know is it's a million years more advanced than you can possibly dream of. That's it. That's all you need to know. Now, Jesus' raiment glows blinding white. Here's where things start getting interesting. Okay? Mark 9:3. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh with Him Peter, James, and John, His top 3 trusted disciples. Peter, James, and John. Those are His 3 boys. When He is really distraught about knowing He's going to die the next day by being betrayed by Judas, He talks to those guys, and they have to calm Him down because He's like inconsolable. He's like really, mentally hurt by this, and is coming to terms with his own vanquishing life, and that's really something for any human to have to come to terms with. So those are His 3 boys. Okay? After 6 days, taketh and leadeth them up to a high mountain, apart by themselves. And He was transfigured before them, and His raiment, His garment, became shining, exceedingly white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. And there appeared unto them Elias with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. All right? So, this is a very important scene. Okay? It seems like Jesus is just showing off at first glance, right? Here, come here, my top 3 disciples. Let me take you to the mountain and show you something cool. And he like transmogs into this bright light, right? But really it's his raiment that's glowing bright. And then he's got 2 figures with him. They don't know who they are. They're just guessing they're Elias and Moses. They didn't see who they were. They don't know who they were. They just saw 2 men standing with him and assumed the only 2 that would be worthy to do that would be Elias and Moses. Really, it was just 2 angels. They were just basically, helping Jesus depower or nullify his healing garments. Okay? So this is where Jesus loses his ability to heal. Okay? After this event happens like literally like the day before he goes to Jerusalem to start a war with the temple, with all the priests there. And then the next day they send, the squad to kill him. So this is just a couple days before he dies. All right? This is the very end of his 3-year-long ministry. The very end of it. All right? And the whole purpose of it was just for God and the angels to take away the magical abilities that Jesus' garments had. All right? Because, why? Because we know that Jesus is going to be dead in a few days, and the Romans are going to cast lots for those very garments that he's wearing right now. And God does not want the Romans to have garments that have God's technology and their power, like, can heal. Because then, they could take them back to the emperor and give them the emperor for a cushy life. And then the emperor, who knows, every time the emperor gets sick, just touch the garment and now he's healed. And maybe the emperor could live like over 100 years now. Maybe 120 is the max, God says. 120, 125, whatever. So it would be way too much power for any Roman emperor to have. They would just turn so sinister and evil with something like this, more than they already were. All right? So, know that. 3 days before he got crucified, Jesus went to the mountain and transmogrified, and his garments glowed white, and the angels came, it did something, and then they always disappeared. And after that moment, Jesus never healed anybody again with his garments. Did not happen. Never. But he did heal one person after this, all right? Now let's look into this. Only person Jesus heals after his transmog on the mountain. Mark 10:46. And they came to Jericho, as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people. Blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway side begging. And when he heard that Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Right? And the men charged him that he should hold his peace, but he cried more a great deal, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Think about this. Jesus has lost the ability to heal. He cannot heal. All right? And I think his disciples know it, because you have a blind guy who, I think this guy becomes one of Jesus' number 1 disciples too, or followers after this. You have a blind guy who's begging Jesus to heal him, begging him. And everyone is telling him, shh, be quiet, don't bother Jesus. Even Jesus' own disciples are telling him to stop bothering Jesus for this right now. So it seems pretty obvious that Jesus did not have the ability to heal anymore. And even his disciples knew it based on what they were saying and doing, because it does not sound like what they normally do, right? And Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called to the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, he calleth thee. And he, casting away his garments, rose and came to Jesus. And Jesus answered and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? And the blind man said unto him, Lord, that I may receive my sight. And Jesus said to him, Go thy way, thy faith has made thee whole. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed Jesus in the way. Yeah, so he was one of Jesus' followers with the way, the cult that emerged after Jesus' death that picked up or became Christianity. All right, and if I'm not mistaken, I think John killed that guy too. I think that was one of the guys that Paul killed when he was doing what he thought the Lord wanted him to do, but he clearly wasn't. So notice once again, Jesus says, he never touches him. He just says, Go away, your faith will make you whole. Okay? And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the way. Now, immediately, I don't think this immediately is as immediate as you and I might think. I'm thinking maybe like 10 or 20 minutes, you know? I don't think it happened as like as soon as Jesus said these words, he just, I can see now. I believe it was a little bit more time consuming than that. And Jesus did not save him. Jesus did not cure him. Jesus did not have the ability to, which is why he never even touched him. He just did what he did and said, Go your way. And then I believe his angels then cured the guy on behalf of Jesus, as I believe this was the final curing that occurred before Jesus was crucified. This was the last person to get healed in any way, okay? And Jesus never even touched him. He just, said, What do you want me to do? And he said, Restore my health. And he said, Okay, your faith has made you whole. Go away. And he did that. And the guy was cured. We don't know how long it took the angels to do this, what exactly happened. Maybe the angels went in and slowed time down. They can do this, and then went in there and zapped him, and then left before anybody could really notice what was going on. Who knows? So many ways God has to do to ancient humans thousands of years ago that they don't understand. Okay? But just notice, this is the only time Jesus healed anybody after his garments mysteriously glowed and the angels came and talked to him right before he got crucified. So, just know that. Okay, Mark 15:24. And when they had crucified him, they parted his garments, casting lots upon them, and what every man should take. There we go again. The Romans know his garments had power, and they want that power. But the Romans don't know is that just a few days ago, Jesus was depowered in this way by the angels just to prevent that exact thing from happening, so that the Romans would not have that power. God's clever, man. It's hard to outsmart God, my man. Okay? And in Luke 9:49, and as John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followed not with us. And Jesus said to him, Forbade him not, for he that is not against us is with us. So this is a very interesting verse, which I say for last. Here it's saying, when his disciples were out being sent out to cure in the pairs, all the villages around, they saw someone that they did not know that claimed to be with Jesus somehow, and he was also performing miracles. He was curing people. Okay? He was helping people. It was not fake. It was not like he was pretending. It was no. It said he actually was performing miracles. And then in this one, Jesus doesn't say it, but there's another reference to it. I probably should have brought that one too, where Jesus said, if his miracles were real, then the source was real. Forbade him not. Basically just saying, listen, if he actually cured people and was saying he was doing it to help them in my name, then if he cured them, he's with us. He's with us. You may not know him. You may not know how he's with us. He might not be in my group. He might be another one of God's, plants to do something or whatever. He might be someone God called upon to do something. So many different reasons that man could be there that you don't understand because it's all part of God's plan and you're not privy to it. Okay? But just know, Jesus' official statement was, if someone else is performing miracles, if they're real miracles and they really are helping people, then don't automatically assume they're bad. I mean, there's a good chance they're not. If they're real miracles, they're probably real. Or you've been conned. That's a possibility too. But Jesus says that's not to worry about that. If you believe they're real, consider them real. All right? So, that is the end of my deep dive onto how Jesus healed people. There was also a story I wanted to show you. I might have forgot about Legion, where Jesus basically healed people. There was a guy on a cliff or something. Yeah, I guess I don't have that story, but there was a guy on the cliff that was mentally ill. Everybody knew he was mentally ill. He was crazy, running around doing all sorts of crazy shit with his dick out. And Jesus came up to him, and Jesus really didn't want to have a whole lot to do with this guy because he was so crazy. But he did cure him of his mental illnesses. And the way he did that is he just commanded, I command the demons in you, to devils, whatever, to go and infest that herd of swine on that hillside. And then the devil did, and he was in there, and then the pigs all ran off the cliff and killed each other. And I think they ate the pigs for a feast that night. So, but notice it was a mental illness, and the dude said his name was Legion because we are many. Because there's many mental illnesses in this dude's head, all right? Like schizophrenia, like a lot of different personalities that are assuming this dude's persona, okay? And Jesus said, okay, so you got schizo. I command schizo to go to that pig, and then pigs die, and we eat the pigs for a feast tonight, and we have fun. And then Legion was so happy about being cured by Jesus like this, from his mental illnesses, that he begged to join Jesus, and Jesus was like, man, sorry, man, you're not for me. Like, enjoy, have a good life, go to the temple, love God, tell everybody what happened. Which is odd. He was the only one Jesus told to tell everybody. Everybody else, Jesus like, don't tell everybody. He told everybody anyways. But that one guy, he was like, tell everybody, and he just go away from me. We don't know why Jesus was short of this guy. Who knows? I'm sure he had his reasons. You can read minds. But just know that was a mental illness with Legion and this swine, and Jesus never touched him with his garments. He just commanded it to be. So it could have been one of the many things that the angels did on behalf of Jesus, was to actually physically cure this guy of his mental illness. Okay, he might need an actual angel to perform this. And the angels are sneaky. They can do all sorts of things without you knowing they're ever there. They have like cloaking technology. All right, trust me. You don't. They're a million years more advanced than you, my man. Just stop trying to think like you can figure it out. It's beyond. But that's pretty encompassive. That pretty much shows everything, every scenario where Jesus used his healing powers. Okay? And through that, I think we can safely say that the source of Jesus' healing power for diseases was definitely his powered up garments, the trim, the border of his garments. And to fix physical problems like deafness and blindness, he needed to use his saliva for some reason. The saliva was the key factor for that. And when it came to mental illnesses, he could just say it. He could just be like, be whole. And then after a few minutes, the person would be good. So I don't think that was Jesus curing them of their mental illnesses. I think that was angels that Jesus commanded doing that for him, which is why the reason why it doesn't happen very often. I think there's only like 2 people that Jesus cures that are mentally ill. All the rest are either physically ill or diseased in some way. There's not many people that Jesus cured that were mental. Okay, there were a few. I'm sure there's a few that his disciples did as well. Said they were given authority to do that, but once again, it was probably more of like they would put their hands and pray to God to cure this guy, and then when no one is looking or whatever, an angel will sneak in and actually cure the guy and then disappear, and that is how that would go specifically. Now, this is all theory, and I've been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong again. But I do believe that the vast majority of how I presented the methodology in which Jesus used to heal and to do his miracles has been explained scientifically. Okay? I mean, I get it. I'm not showing the exact chemicals and blah, blah, blah. It's beyond me. But I'm showing it's definitely not as simple as praying and having faith. There's an actual technological component given to Jesus from God and the angels to do this. So this is important. And some people will hear this and they will actually feel like they've been conned. Like, well, I only believe in Jesus because I thought he was an omnipotent God that could do anything he wanted by snapping his fingers. And now you're telling me he can't? Well, I don't want to believe in that. And it's like, yeah, bro, so you're believing in Jesus for the wrong reasons. The reason why you're meant to believe in Jesus in the gospel is because Jesus is the example for our species on how to behave as a human, what God wants you to be like. Okay, Jesus is the example that God gave us to behave like that. And for successfully doing that and suffering so much and not being bitter about it and being such a nice guy, God has rewarded him with incalculable power and wonders and authority over and domain over this whole planet and everything that resides on it within its firmament, which is us too. And it's good. I'm glad, because I'd rather be Jesus that's in charge than anyone else. All right. I don't trust people, but I do trust Jesus. And that is because he is the example. So if you want to believe in Jesus, believe in him because he's your example of what God wants you to be. And he is your guide. And he is proof that you can be more than just a dirty fucking animal. Okay? That's why you want to believe in Jesus. That's why he can save you, is he can give you an alternative way to live beyond fearful of the almighty omnipotent God going to beat you down with his stick if you don't obey. Okay? God gave you free will. You can do whatever the fuck you want, my son. But it's free will. You get the results you get. It's the way it is. And on that, I think we will end this. Y'all have a good day. I'm probably going to start making more videos more frequently, so we'll see. Time is running out. TikTok, less than a year now by my count, until Putin's nukes destroy 2/3 of all life. And shit is never the same again. Never. I won't let it be the same. Adios. Until next time, have a good one.
Like, subscribe, submit.